Also, going the extra mile is the only thing which gives one the right to ask for promotions or more pay. Did you ever stop to think about that? You don't have a leg to stand on in going into the purchaser of your services and asking for more money or for a promotion to a better job, unless for some time previously you have been going the extra mile, doing more than you're paid for. Because obviously if you're doing no more than you're paid for, then you're being paid for all you're entitled to, aren't you? Certainly you are. So you have to first start going the extra mile and putting the other fellow under obligation to you before you can ask any favors of him. And I'll tell you another thing. If you have enough people whom you have put under obligations to you by going the extra mile, when you need some favor, you can always turn one direction or other and get it. It's a nice thing to know that you have that kind of credits hanging around, isn't it? I want you to have that kind of credits with other people. And I want to teach you the technique by which you can do that. Now, we get our cue as to the soundness of the principle of going the extra mile by observing nature. And here's quite a bit of illustration regarding that. You will see that nature goes the extra mile by producing enough of everything for her needs, together with an overplus for emergencies and waste. The blooms on the trees, the fishes in the seas, in the waters. She doesn't just produce enough fish to perpetuate the species. She produces enough to feed the snakes and the alligators and everything else, and those that die of natural causes, and still enough to perpetuate the species. Nature is most bountiful in her business of going the extra mile, and in return, she is very demanding in seeing that every living creature goes the extra mile. Bees are provided with honey as compensation for their services in fertilizing the flowers in which the honey is attractively stored. But they have to perform the service to get the honey, and it must be performed in advance. Nature, you've heard it said that the birds of the air and the beasts of the jungle neither weave nor spin, but they always live and eat. But you know, if you observe wildlife at all, they don't eat without performing some sort of service, without working, without doing something before they can eat. Take a flock of common old cornfield crows, for instance. They have to organize. They have to have sentinels to put down for their protection. They travel in flocks. They have sentinels. They have codes by which to warn one another. They have to do a lot of educating before they can even eat safely. And nature requires man to go the extra mile. He's got to go out, and if he's going to have food, all food comes out of the ground. And if he's going to have food, he's got to plant seed. He can't live entirely on what nature plants. Not in civilized life he can't, at least. Over on the islands, where some places where not civilized, I suppose they depend on eating raw coconuts and what have you. But in civilized life, we have to plant our food in the ground. We have to clear the ground first. We have to plow it. We have to harrow it. We have to fence it. We have to protect it against predatory animals and so forth. And all of that costs labor and time and money. And all of that has to be done in advance, or you're not going to eat. I wouldn't have any trouble at all selling this idea that nature makes everybody go the extra mile to a farmer. He knows that, beyond any question of a doubt. He knows every minute of his life that if he doesn't go the extra mile, he doesn't eat. He doesn't have anything to sell. A new employee, for instance, going into a new job, can't come right in immediately and start going the extra mile and immediately demand top wages or the best job in the place. You just don't. It doesn't work out that way. You have to establish a record, a reputation. You have to get yourself recognized and received in this business of going the extra mile before you can begin to put pressure on to get compensation back. As a matter of fact, if you go the extra mile in the right sort of mental attitude, the chances are 1,000 to 1 you'll never have to ask for compensation according to the service you render, because it'll be tendered you automatically in the way of promotions, in the way of increased salary. And throughout the whole universe, everything has been so arranged through the law of compensation, so adequately described by Emerson, that nature's budget is balanced, so to speak. Everything has its opposite equivalent in something else. Positive and negative in every unit of energy, day and night, hot and cold, success and failure, sweet and sour, happiness and misery, man and woman. Everywhere and everything one may see the law of action and reaction in operation. Everything you do, everything you think, every thought that you release causes a reaction. If not on somebody else, on the person releasing the thought. Because you never, as a matter of fact, when you release a thought, you're not through with it. Every thought that you express, silently even, becomes a definite part of the pattern of your subconscious mind. And if you store in that subconscious mind enough negative thoughts, you'll be predominantly negative. And if you follow the habit of releasing only the positive thoughts, your subconscious pattern will be predominantly positive. And you will attract to you all of the things that you want. And if you're negative, you'll repel the things that you want and attract only the things you don't want. That's a law of nature, too. And this business of going the extra mile is one of the finest ways that I know of educating your subconscious mind to attract to you the things you want and to repel the things you don't want. And you can put it down as an established fact that if you neglect to develop and apply this principle of going the extra mile, you will never become personally successful and you will never become financially independent. The reason I happen to know it sound is, you see, I've had a great privilege over you that you haven't had yet, but you will have in time. I had the privilege of observing a great many thousands of people, some of whom applied the principle of going the extra mile and some of whom did not. And I have had the privilege of finding out what happened to those who did and those who didn't. And I know beyond any question of a doubt that nobody ever rises above ordinary or stations in life or mediocrity without the habit of going the extra mile. It just doesn't happen. If I had discovered one case, just one case, where somebody went on to the top without going the extra mile, I would say then there are exceptions. But I am in position to say there are no exceptions because I have never found that one case. And I can definitely tell you from my own experiences, and I have been there every minute of my life, that I have never had a major benefit of any kind in the world that I didn't get it as a result of going the extra mile. Now that's the thing that I want you to do. I want you to become self-determining so you can do these things without the help of anybody. That's the time when the payoff will come to you, when you can go out and do anything in this world that you want to do, and whether anybody wants you to do it or whether they want to help you or whether they don't, you can do it on your own. I want to tell you that's one of the grandest, most glorious feelings that I know anything about, knowing that as I stand here talking to you, that whatever I wanted to do, I can do it. I don't have to ask anybody, not even my wife. But if I had to ask her, I would, because I'm on good terms with her.